In this Jubilee year, 2016, Pope Francis affirmed communism as the best structure for humankind and the European Union. He did so upon receiving the Charlemagne Prize last week and made a speech that included the following comment: "We need to move from a liquid economy prepared to use corruption as a means of obtaining profits to a social economy that guarantees access to land and lodging through labor." Read that quote carefully. What is he proposing here? He wants to move from a liquid economy. What does that mean? My only guess is that he wants the economy to be less fluid, more controlled. He then seems to imply that making profits, creating wealth, the stuff that enables him to sit on his golden thrones in his massive militarized compound, is in some way corrupt. He then wants to move to a social economy, which I presume means socialism or communism. And through that, he wants to guarantee access to land and lodging through labor. You know who else received guaranteed access to lodging through labor? African slaves in the 1800s. For this pope, it seems a kind of slavery is best suited to the human condition. Everyone is entitled to the essentials and not much more. And in return, everyone labors. In actual fact, your average American today is essentially a free-range slave. Most data showing the average American's expenditures show that nearly half of their income goes towards paying the plantation owner, the government, and then the rest goes to paying for lodging, rent or mortgage, and they don't actually own the house even if paid off, as they have to pay the plantation every year to live in it, called property tax. Other expenditures include food, then medical care, in order to keep them working, then transportation, which is mostly used to get to and back from their workplace. After that, it's estimated that your average American has less than 10% left for themselves. The Pope, apparently, would like to see that 10% done away with, and just supply housing and bare necessities to the citizens. Some will scoff and say, the Pope should just shut up when it comes to politics and economics. And they're right, of course. But he plays a large role in rolling out the New World Order, Agenda 2030 system. More than 1 billion people around the world listen to him talk about Marxism. He's kind of given up on the God and Jesus thing anyway. Recently, he's been saying that an individual choice supersedes the Word of God. And he has been trying to combine all the world's religions into one, whether it's with Jesus or not. Jesus is kind of being pushed aside and forgotten. Probably because Jesus was an anarchist who believed in the Golden Rule, and that rule would not allow for a forced worldwide communist government. This is part of the larger Jubilee alignment that we have been tracking here at the Dollar Vigilante as an outgrowth of our Shemitah analysis. As the year continues, we see more and more statements like the one that Pope Francis just made. The foundation of a further destruction of human culture in order to build a new world order continues. In the Pope's case, much of his statement upon winning the Charlemagne Prize is based on UN Agenda 21 and the subsequent Agenda 2030 that we recently wrote about at the Dollar Vigilante. The UN Agenda 2030 is a blueprint for out-and-out slavery, a condition in which the boot will stamp down on the human face for eternity. The ramifications are tremendous, though, as usual, the media either glosses over the Pope's words and meaning or reinterprets his statements to make them sound sentimental and religious. In his address during the Charlemagne Award ceremony, it becomes very clear that he is not talking about voluntarism, but coercion. He uses the word guarantee. Something that is guaranteed is not voluntary. In fact, the Charlemagne Prize draws its inspiration from the eugenicist Count Richard Nicholas, who was a founder of the Pan-European movement in the early 1920s. He believed strongly in a federal Europe without nationalities. The idea was to intermix and, according to him, crossbreed with Negroes and Asians that would be introduced via immigration. This is, of course, exactly what's happening today. Count Nicholas's perspective had to do with the outcome he expected, that so-called mongrel races would be easier to manipulate and control. Charlemagne was the first emperor of Europe, a unifier of the entire region, and this Charlemagne Prize celebrates European unification. Previous prize recipients include a who's who of New World Order spokespeople, including Angela Merkel and Bill Clinton. There have been predictions made centuries ago that have said this would occur and that Pope Francis would be the final pope as the New World Order is ushered in. Saint Malachy, a 12th century Roman Catholic who was the Archbishop of Armagh, wrote of 112 popes coming after his death. And in fact, Pope Benedict was the 111th pope. During the time of the 112th pope, the Vatican itself would be destroyed as God passed judgment on the world. Nostradamus, a French doctor, also predicted that Pope Francis I would be the last pontiff. Francis himself has made several allusions to his papacy and his expectations that one way or another he will not have more than 3 years as pontiff, and 2 years have already passed. Of incredible coincidence, or not, is that the new Jesuit superior is planned to be installed on the evening of October 2nd, 2016. What is important about October 2nd? It's the end day of the Jubilee year, and the Jesuits have deep connections into this New World Order plan. The worldwide communism that Francis is espousing with ever more vigor is echoed by top bureaucrats in the EU and in the US. John Kerry recently criticized Donald Trump's foreign policy agenda during a commencement speech at Northeastern University on Friday. Kerry indicated that the maintenance of international barriers are nostalgia for some rose-tinted version of the past. He said, "The future demands from us something more than a nostalgia for some rose-tinted version of the past that did not really exist in any case. You're about to graduate into a complex and borderless world." We don't think there should be borders either, but we don't think there should be governments and central banks as well. Our dream is a world free of oppressive control. Their dream is a world of complete oppressive control under one government and one central bank. We can see from both Kerry's statement and Francis's that the globalist rhetoric is growing more extreme as Jubilee 2016 continues. Between the UN's recent Agenda 2030, Francis's rhetoric and other statements by Western leaders, it's obvious that globalist positioning is being expanded and sharpened. We continue to track international and globalist developments in our Dollar Vigilante newsletter and have predicted their growth in 2015 and 2016. You can see our predictions in a viral video on the Jubilee year 2016 here. The Dollar Vigilante newsletter is perhaps the best place to go for ongoing, timely coverage of the developments being driven by Francis, Kerry, and others. We predicted both the early downturn in stocks in 2016 and the rise in gold relative to the dollar. Our subscribers have been enriched as a result. And in fact, that's the whole point about understanding what's taking place. You want to anticipate it to keep yourself and your family safe, and if possible, you want to take advantage of upcoming developments financially. To stay ahead of events and survive and prosper through them, please subscribe to this channel and subscribe to the Dollar Vigilante newsletter at dollarvigilante.com/subscribe.